Shriputra Atra Surupam Rupam Tasyagraja Muri Purim Mathurim Goshtvatim Radha Kundamagirivaram Radhika Madhvasam Raptus Pratit Kripaya Sri Guru Tamnatus Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikai Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Anandalilamaya Vigahaya Hema Bhaktibhyaschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahapremarasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Bhaktya Vina Aparada Lakse Chiptast Kamaritoram Kamadi Kripamaitam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Numate Brinde Numate Saranaravindam Govinda Damo Dharamadavedi Govinda Damo Dharamadavedi Govinda Damo Dharamadavedi Govinda Damo Dharamadavedi. Everyone. Hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Saketi, Govinda Damo Sham Sundar Sikhanda Sekara Smaraha Sumurili Manoida Radhikar Sikamam Kripanidhi Supriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Toyabana Jivikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charantikam. First of all, I offer my sastang dandavat puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmatiya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityata Lila Parvishta Om Vishnu Pada Shtotarasrasi Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, and to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpaturvasa, Kripa Sandubhyavata, Puditanam Pavanibho Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Srila Gurudeva ki Jai.
By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauranga Gauranga, as we observe the most auspicious occasion of the disappearance festival of Srila Jiva Gosvami, we are studying the Sandarbhas, and yesterday we began to discuss Tattva Sandarbha. Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has taken a very novel approach to establishing Tattva, the nature of reality. Instead of only arguing on the basis of Prastantrayi, he said, look, the Gita, the Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, they have been manifested by Srila Vyasadeva. So what is Srila Vyasadev's internal experience, his anubhav? The Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. What is his internal experience, his anubhav? From this we can decide for sure what is the true nature of reality. Nevertheless, to a certain degree within Tattva Sandarbha, and especially Srila Jiva Goswami Pad wrote a commentary on his own commentary on his own Sandarbhas, on the first 4 Sandarbhas, that is called Sarva Sambadini. So there he has addressed in more detail the various objections of different philosophical schools. So specifically in Tattva Sandarbha and in the Sarva Sambadini on Tattva Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has made some elaborate refutation of the Mayavad, the teachings of Shankaracharya and his followers, showing how their teaching is completely incoherent. It's inconsistent in relation to its own components. So, first of all, it's necessary to understand a little of what was the teaching of Shankaracharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadi. Those who say that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitya, Brahma Jiva Aikana Para, only the impersonal light of Brahman is true, and the world is completely false, and the Jiva and Brahman, they actually one. There is nothing else to know. So they are making offense to Krishna because they are denying Krishna himself, he is non different from his own form, Sachidananda Vigraha. They are denying the eternal reality, the eternal conscious blissful reality of Krishna Swarup. Krishna Nam, Rup, Gun and Lila. So impersonalism is the most extremely antagonistic position against bhakti. So, Shankaracharya, he taught that only Brahma, that is near Vishesh, having no characteristics at all, Nirakar, having no shape, Nirgun, having no material qualities, and there's no question of any spiritual qualities. That only that Brahman is true. Then someone may say, but what about this world? We're experiencing this world. And what about the Shastra? Because Shankaracharya does not reject the scriptures. He accepts the scriptures. He just makes his own misinterpretation of them. So, in the scriptures, there's description about Jivas and Maya, the world, and about Ishvara, Bhagavan, and how Bhagavan is the controller of Maya and Maya is the controller of the Jiva. So these statements scripture. What should we say about this? Does it mean that the scripture is all wrong? So, Shankaracharya explains that there are 3 levels of existence. There is Brahman, the Brahman. This light, this impersonal light, this is called Paramarthik Satta. That means, ontologically, it is the one transcendental existence. Paramarthik Satta. Only this is real. Then there is Vyavaharik Satta. That is the existence, the Satta existence of Vyavahar, our conventional empirical experience. Vyavaharik Satta. Then there is Pratibhasik Satta. Pratibhasik Satta means the illusion. Like if a person has a dream, then this dream is not even real related to the Vyavaharik Satta. Right? In relation to our conventional experience in this world, then the dream is not real in relation to that. So that's like an illusion within the Vyavaharik Satta. So that's called Pratibhasik Satta. For example, if you are in a dream, you commit a crime, then when you wake up, you will find, you'll be relieved to know that the police are not searching for you. Or, in this Vyavaharik Satta conventional experience, in the dark, in the dim light, you may see a rope and think that this rope is a snake. So this snake is of the Pratibhasik Satta. It is not even of real relative to the conventional experience. So these are some of the ideas of Shankaracharya. Now, he says that Maya, illusion, has 2 vrittis. Vidya-vritti, the function of knowledge, and avidya-vritti, the function of ignorance. So, when only Brahman is the supreme truth, but when Brahman is delimited by the avidya-vritti, the ignorance aspect of Maya, then that is called a Jiva, a living entity. And if Brahman is delimited by the vidya-vritti of Maya, then that is Ishvara, God. So ultimately, there's only Brahman. But by the influence of the 2 vrittis of Maya, we have this experience that there are Jivas and there is Bhagavan, or Ishvara. Okay, now, the followers of Shankaracharya have interpreted his presentation in 2 prominent ways. One is called Paritschedavad. Paritsched. Ched means cutting or separating. So Paritschedvad, the philosophy that Brahman becomes separated. Portions of Brahman are separated from the totality of Brahman by the upadhi, by the designation of Maya. So that is called Paritschedavad. The example is given, Mahakash, Gatakash. Akash means space. There is Mahakash, the great space everywhere. And then if there's a clay pot is called Ghat. So Gatakash, if there's a clay pot, then some space is outside of the pot and some space is inside of the pot. So this interpretation of Shankaracharya was given by a scholar named Vachaspati Mishra. So he explained it in this way, that actually space is one. But when you have a pot, then you discriminate. You say this is the space outside the pot and this is the space inside the pot. And then if you smash the pot, then the space inside the pot and outside is one. So in the same way, the Jiva is always Brahman. But when there's the Upadhi of Maya, of the avidya-vritti of Maya, then the Jiva, the Brahman, within that Upadhi, that designation, like within a pot, that's what we call Jiva, the living entity, that's us. But if you become enlightened, if you become free from Maya, free from ignorance, it's like smashing the pot and then Brahmasmi. Then there's Mukti, Nirvana. This is his idea. And Ishvara is like the Akash inside the pot, the designation, the Upadhi, which is of the Vidya-vritti of Maya. Understand? So ultimately only Brahman is real, and the idea that there's such a thing as a Jiva or Bhagavan is caused by Maya in the form of the avidya-vritti for Jivas and vidya-vritti for Ishvara, for God. So that is one theory, explanation of Shankara's teaching. It is called Parichcheda-vad, the theory of delimitation of Brahman by Maya. Okay? Now there's another interpretation, and this is called Pratibimba-vad. Pratibimba. Bimba means a real object, and Pratibimba means a reflection of the real object. So Pratibimba-vad means the theory, the vad of reflection. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jiva nistan lagi sutra kole vyas, mayavadi basa shunane hoi sarvanash. Which means that Srila Vyasadeva has written Vedanta Sutra for the deliverance of all the jivas. But if you listen to the commentary of Shankaracharya, everything will be ruined. But anyway, but now I'm telling you something of the commentary of Shankaracharya, not to ruin everything. That is, if you hear the commentary of Shankaracharya from a follower of Shankaracharya, then you'll not understand anything about Vedanta, you become completely lost and confused. But it's alright to hear something from Vaishnavas in such a way, because they will explain it, and in such a way that you'll understand how it's impossible, and then your mind will not become trapped by this Mayavad virus. So the other theory is called Pratibimba-vad. It means that only Brahman is real. But when Brahman is reflected in the avidya-vritti of Maya, then the reflection of Brahma in the avidya-vritti of Maya is Jiva, the soul, individual soul, who is in ignorance, who is controlled by Maya. And if Brahman is reflected in the vidya-vritti, in the knowledge function of Maya, then that is Ishvara, Bhagavan, Krishna, Narayan, Lord Ram, whatever. All the incarnations, they're all illusion, but they are superior to the jivas because it's Brahman reflected in the vidya-vritti, knowledge portion. Okay. So this is the Advaita-vad. Now, one might ask, oh, you have spoken, O Shankaracharya, O followers of Shankaracharya, my dear friend with 3 lines tilak, you may ask such a person, this Maya that you speak about, is it real or unreal? Because if Maya is real, then you are not really a Mayavadi, because then you have duality, 2 things, Brahman and Maya. So if this Maya that you talk about is real, have to join with us. Because you have Brahman, and Brahman has a Shakti called Maya, and we also agree that the Supreme Truth has Shakti, so it's not actually impersonal. And if you say that Maya is unreal, it's not real, then that which is unreal cannot produce any effect. So now, the impersonalist is in a trap, because if his Maya is real, then he has to join us. And if his Maya is unreal, then it would not have any effect. So then, Shankaracharya will say, well, you see, mine is Sat Asat, Anirvachaniya. Sat means it's real and unreal. And you say, but, and he says, yes, Anirvachaniya. It's indescribable. Anirvachaniya. Yito vacho vivatante aprapyamanasa saha. In the Upanishads it says that the mind and the words, they return from Brahman being unable to attain it. So it's beyond the mind, it's beyond the words. But that's not really the meaning of that mantra of the Upanishads. Yato vachani vatante aprapyamanasa saha. That the mind and the words return from Brahman, the Supreme Truth, being unable to attain it, means that they must, the mind and the words can't go there, otherwise how can they come back? Mind and words, they can go to the Supreme Truth. Otherwise how can they nivartani come back? That they didn't catch it means that the mind, even the purified mind, can never catch all of it, because the glories of Sri Krishna and Radhika, they are unlimited. So how much can Mahaprabhu said, Tova Chakiti Kahi Toyeka Bindu. Hey Rupa Gosvami, I'll tell you about the ocean of rasa, but only one drop. Because it's unlimited. So this is what it means, that you can go there and you come back without attaining it. It means you cannot fully experience or fully express it. That's the real meaning. But the followers of Shankaracharya will say, oh look, in the Upanishads it says it's beyond the mind and beyond words. So this Maya is not real or unreal, it's Sat Asat. Real and unreal, Anirvachaniya. Indescribable. So then Jiva Goswami Padi is saying, you accept Bhagavad Gita. Right? Because the Prastantrayi Bhagavad Gita is one of the evidences. So in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said, Nasato vidyate bhavo, nabhavo vidyate sataha, ubayarapidrastantas tvanyas tatpadashivihi. Of that which is asat, unreal, there's no existence. And of that which is real, there's no non-existence. The wise have understood this after carefully studying the nature of both. So in the Bhagavad Gita, two things have been accepted, Sat and Asat. But there's no third category of Sat Asat. There's no third category in Bhagavad Gita of anything which is simultaneously real and unreal at the same time. So, you cannot give any praman for this. Now the next thing is, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad said that actually this cannot be real or unreal or real and unreal, Maya. It cannot be any of these categories. Why? If it is unreal, as we mentioned, it cannot have any effect. And if it is real, then where is it? Because you have accepted that there is Paramarthik Satta, the ontological category of true reality, Paramarthik Satta. Then there is Vyavaharik Satta, that's what we are experiencing now as jivas in this world. And there is the Pratibhasik Satta, the illusion, mistake, illusion within the illusion. So, where is Maya? If you say that it's real. So, Maya cannot be in the Paramarthik Satta. Because then it would not be Nirvishesh, it would not be one, there would be two. There would be Brahman and Maya, and both real in the eternal realm. So that cannot cannot be accepted by the Mayavadis. Then it cannot be in the Pratibhasik Satta. Pratibhasik Satta. Why? Because then it would not produce any empirical results. So we gave the example, if in a dream you commit a crime, then the police are not looking for you when you wake up. So if Maya were real, but only in the Pratibhasik Satta, then it would not produce the very predictable and regulated nature of the world as we experience it. So then one thing is left. Maya can only be in the Vyavaharik Satta. In the Vyavaharik Satta. So if Maya is real according to Vyavaharik Satta, then you will not become free from it just by receiving the knowledge. For example, the Mayavadis give an example that the soul is like a child from a very wealthy family who at birth he was lost and he was found by a poor family. So the child was growing up in the poor family and he was suffering so much in poverty. Then one day someone who knew the mystery came to him and said, "Why are you suffering so much? You are very wealthy." And then at once he realized, I am not a poor person. I am from this wealthy royal family. And all his problems were solved. So in the same way, according to the teaching of Shankaracharya, the Jivas are in Maya. But when Gurudev says in the ear of the disciple, Tat Tvam Asi, Tat Tvam Asi, Tvam Asi, you are Tat, Brahman. So then you go, I am Brahman. And now you become enlightened. Just like the poor person who actually was never poor, but he just didn't know. So simply, you were always Brahman. And now you realize it, because Gurudev said, Tat Tvam Asi. Or, another example is, let's say you have a pocket watch. And it's in your pocket, but you forgot that it was there. So before you go out, you're looking. Where's my? And you're looking in the cupboard and in the drawer and in the bedroom, in the living room, everywhere. Then someone said, "Oh, it's in your pocket." So in the same way, though they say there's only Brahman is real, and that's who you are. So when Gurudev says, "Tat Tvam Asi," then you realize it at once. So, Srila Jiva Gosvami said, look, if Maya is real in the Vyavaharik sense, in the Vyavaharik Satta, then we see that the Vyavaharik Satta, things don't just go away, even if you get knowledge. Let's say, if you are in chains, in this conventional reality, and you say, I am free. But then you look, you are still in chains. So, things which are real from the Vyavaharik sense don't go away just because you have some jnana, some knowledge, or that they're not there. So then, Srila Jiva Gosvami said, alright, you may say it's true that the things which are real in the Vyavaharik Satta will not go away by knowledge. But Brahman it has to be merciful, and then it will go away. Jiva Goswami said, yes, then we are together. Because if Brahman has mercy, then Brahman is a person and he has a Karuna Shakti, and now you've become a Vaishnava. So, if the upadis, if the Maya is real in the Vyavaharik Satta, it will not go away by knowledge. It could only go away by the mercy of Brahman, but if you accept that Brahman has mercy, then you become a Vaishnava. You become a devotee. So then, there's another problem. This Vyavaharik Satta, what is it? Brahman does not experience Vyavaharik Satta. Brahman is just in Brahman. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. The eternal consciousness, unlimited. It is never limited by Maya at all. So who is experiencing the Vyavaharik Satta? The Jiva. In fact, the Vyavaharik Satta, not being the experience of Brahman, is actually the experience of the Jiva. Right? Now, you have a big problem here. Because if Maya is real, in the sense that it's just the experience of the Jiva, then the Jiva becomes the ground, or the substrate, or the shelter of Maya. You can just think, if everything is, there's only Brahman, but then you think there's a Jiva, and Maya is just the Jiva's experience. A portion of Brahman is having this experience of being in Maya, so it's just his experience, otherwise it doesn't exist. Now you have a problem, because if Maya is just the Jiva's mistake, but for a Jiva to exist there has to be Maya in the first place, to separate a piece of Brahman, to make the Jiva. So now you have this situation where Maya is the mistake of the Jiva, but the Jiva could only exist if there was Maya to separate a piece of Brahman. So this is the problem. It's called Anyonya Shrai Dosh. Without Maya there can't be a Jiva, but without a Jiva there cannot be Maya. So this is called Anyonya Shrai Dosh, the defect of one thing being the cause of something, but that thing which is the effect is actually the cause of the thing which is causing it. That is, so it is interdependent causation. It is like saying that there are two persons. And you ask, oh, who are you? Said, oh, my name is John. And who is this? Oh, this is my father. Then you ask the father, who are you? Says, my name is Peter. And who is that? Oh, this is my father. They both cannot be the father. It's impossible. So, if you say that Maya is just a mistake of the Jiva, then you have this big problem, because there cannot be a Jiva in the first place without Maya, separating a portion of Brahman. Then you have another problem, that if the Vyavaharik Satta is just the illusion of the Jiva, then within that Vyavaharik Satta there is Maya and there is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is controlling Maya and Maya is controlling the Jiva. But the problem is, if Maya is just the product of the Jiva's mistake, then the Jiva is the cause of Maya, which is the cause of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is controlling the Maya, which is controlling the Jiva, but the Jiva is the source of all of these illusions. It's just, so you see, whichever way you look at it, it is incoherent. It's like, there's this game called the shell game, where there are 3 shells and there's a pea underneath one of the shells, and the person moves it fast. Then you have to guess which one is under. So because the person's mind and their eyes, they can't follow it so quickly, so they don't understand when the trickster is moving them around where it is. So Mayavad philosophy is like that. You only fall for it because of the lack of mental agility. If your mind is a little agile, you'll see, oh, but he keeps moving. If you say, oh, is Maya here? No, it's over there. If you say it's here, no, it's over there. It just keeps moving. The shelter of Maya here and there to make it appear as if it makes sense, but it makes no sense whatsoever. Now, let us look at Parichedavad and Pratibimbavad separately. First, Parichedavad, that is like the pot, with the space outside the pot and the space inside the pot. how is it possible for Maya to divide a portion of Brahma when it is said in the Vedas that Brahman is akhanda? Brahman is akhanda. Jahya nadi akhanda cheda abheda. Brahman is indivisible. So how can you divide something which is indivisible? Secondly, the Shastras say that Brahman is beyond Sat and Asat. That means the cause and effect of Maya. So because Brahman is beyond Maya, then it can have no relationship with an upadi, with a designation that could separate any part of it. So first, it's inseparable. And secondly, it cannot have any relationship with anything, which is Maya. So Maya could never separate a piece of Brahman. Then, let's say, alright, we'll allow you a miracle. We allow you the miracle that somehow or other, though it's impossible for Maya to touch Brahman, that it touched Brahman. We'll give you another miracle, though Brahman is indivisible, akhanda, but it separated a piece of Brahman. And this Brahman inside is the designation is the Jiva, and outside is the liberated Brahman. Right? So there's the Bada Jiva, the inside of the designation, and outside is Mukta, liberated Brahman. Alright? So now we have a problem. What is that? We're all moving around. Right? Someone's going to Italy, someone's going to Russia, someone's going to Croatia. So all the jivas are moving around. So please tell me, when the designations are all moving around, is the Brahman inside moving around? So this is impossible, because Brahman doesn't have parts and does not move. So if you say, except that Brahman is immutable and doesn't move, when the upadis are moving around, then that's impossible because the Brahman inside cannot move. So then you'd have to give another argument. You have to say, no, Brahman isn't moving, only the upadis are moving. Now you have another problem. That portion of Brahman, which was the Jiva inside, when the upadis are moving, that piece of Brahman is becoming mukta, liberated, and the next piece of Brahman is becoming bada, conditioned, and then it's moving, and then that's becoming mukta, and then the next becoming... And now Brahman becomes like a plaything in the hands of Maya. So then Brahman is not Brahman, the greatest, Maya is the greatest. Because Brahman is just a plaything who's capturing and liberating as the upadis are moving around. So then the Maya said, no, it's not like that. It's not like Brahman is moving or the part of Brahman is moving, or Brahman is still and the upadis are moving and capturing. What happens is the upadi captures, there's no question of moving because the upadi captures the whole of Brahman. Everything. But if the upadi captures the whole of Brahman, then there's no liberated Brahman, so there's nowhere for the Badajiv to go to after he's liberated, because there's no Brahman which is outside of the upadi. So whether the upadi is a part of Brahman or whether it's the whole of Brahman, it's impossible. You cannot explain any of these things. Now, it's all incoherent. Now we come to Pratibimbavad, the theory of reflection. Alright. My dear Mayavadi, first of all, for Brahman to be reflected, there has to be a reflecting medium. Right? Because you can't be reflected in yourself. Someone to have a reflection needs a medium for the reflection to exist in. So then you have already admitted that Brahman is not the absolute truth, just one, because there's this other thing called the reflecting medium, Maya. So that's the first thing which is impossible. But if we'll be extremely, extremely generous and say, alright, we'll allow you Sat, Asat, Anivarjaniya, and existing and also not existing, or real and not real, indescribable reflecting medium called Maya. Now, if Brahman has no qualities, then it cannot cast a reflection. Right? can see the sky reflected. But it's not the space which is reflected, it's the planets in space which are reflected. Not the actual space. Because space has no form, no smell, it doesn't have any characteristics. So therefore it's impossible for that which is near Vishesha and near Vikar to cast a reflection. Another thing is that because Brahman is unlimited, an unlimited thing cannot be reflected. Because the reflecting medium would also have to be unlimited. So then, another thing, if we grant them the miracle, that there can be a reflecting medium, which exists and does not exist and is indescribable. And we grant them another miracle, that a thing which has no form and no characteristics could cast a reflection. Now, what would be the difference between Brahman and the reflection? Because you have one thing which has no characteristics, and its reflection which also has no characteristics, then what would be the difference? Now, who's going to choose which of the two Brahmans will be Mukta and which will be Baddha? Because there's no difference between them. So, in this way, Srila Jiva Gosvami in Tattva Sandarbha, in Sarva Sambhajini, has completely annihilated the philosophy of impersonalism and Shankaracharya, not by quoting scripture to refute him, just by showing that his very own words, they don't make any sense at all, if you examine them carefully. So in this way, for this festival, we complete our discussion of Tattva Sandarbha. Now, we're going to go to the second Sandarbha, Bhagavan Sandarbha. So Bhagavan Sandarbha means the Sandarbha about Bhagavan. Now, in Tattva Sandarbha, there Srila Jiva Goswami, quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, explained that the absolute truth, Vadanti tat tattva vedas tattvam, yat jnanam advayam, brahmeti paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabjate. Those who know the truth say that the supreme tattva is advaya jnana, non-dual conscious reality. And it is called Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. In other words, reality is one, but it can be experienced in three ways. So, the second Sandarbha is called Bhagavad Sandarbha. It is about Bhagavan. Why is he starting with Bhagavad Sandarbha? Why not have Brahma Sandarbha and Paramatma Sandarbha and Bhagavad Sandarbha? So the reason is this, that first understand what Bhagavan means. And after that, you can easily understand what Brahma means. So the Brahma Sandarbha is included in Bhagavad Sandarbha. It's not presented separately, but it's included in Bhagavad Sandarbha. One of the things that Srila Jiva Goswami is explaining in Bhagavad Sandarbha is, first of all, who is Bhagavan? Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasasasya jnana vairagyaschapi sanam bhaga itingana. That transcendental person who has 6 opulences in full, that is Aishwaryasya. Aishwarya comes from Ish. Ish Dhatu, the verbal root Ish. It means controlling power, capability. So who has all controlling power? Aishwaryasya. One who has all controlling power is Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya. Here vir means Shakti, but especially it means Achintya Shakti. Inconceivable potency. That is the power to make the impossible possible. The power to bring together in harmony, mutually characteristics. In the material world, contradictory characteristics cancel each other out. But both can reside together in Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasvirasa yashasa. Yash means who has all fame. So here Yash especially means Mangalmoy. That his fame is all auspicious. You see, people in this world, they also have fame. But if you discuss their fame of the materialistic person, then you become contaminated. Because it's of Maya, of the gunas. Yesterday we just went back to the place where we stay. So there's a bookshelf in a little library in the hallway. And I saw there was one book of philosophy by a philosopher, Albert Camus. So he's an absurdist philosopher. So he wrote so many books and studied so much and became very, very famous. And the result of his philosophy is he became so depressed, he committed suicide by driving his car off a cliff. See? So he's famous. But if you come in contact with his fame, if you are in his anugatya, you may also become so depressed that you drive your car off a cliff. So the fame of material people, so when it is said, Krishna is Yash, he has all fame, this means eternal transcendental fame, that if anyone will touch, they'll become purified and liberated. So kirtan means to articulate the fame of Krishna. So Yashasa, Sriya means beauty. He has all beauty. Gyan, he has all knowledge. And Vairagya, all detachment. That person is called Bhagavan. Now, people think that by following the path of Gyan, you can realize impersonal Brahman. By following the path of Yoga, you can realize Paramatma. And by following the path of Bhakti, you can realize Bhagavan. Because Brahman, the realization of Brahman, is to realize the angsik abhas, that means a partial semblance of chit, consciousness. Then, to realize Paramatma is to realize partially Sat and Chit, because Sat means eternal form, and Paramatma has form. And to realize Bhagavan, he has Leela, which are full of joy. So Bhakti is of the nature of Sambit and Ladini, Chit and Ananda, in full. So the full realization of the truth, which is Sachit Ananda, is Bhagavan. People think like this. And this is correct. But Srila Jiva Gosvami is establishing that actually you cannot realize even Brahman or Paramatma without Bhakti. Don't think that by Gyan you can realize Brahman, or by Yoga you can realize Paramatma. No. Everyone must do Bhakti. Only by Bhakti can one realize anything. And the proof is that after the verse Vadanti tat-tattva vedas-tattvam yad-gyanam-advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate, the very next verse is tat-shadadana-muneyo gyana-vairagya-yuktaya pasyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya-sruta-grihitaya. The meaning is that those munis, those sages, muni means who can do mana. That is to deeply reflect, to contemplate with a steady mind. So those munis, Shradadhana, who have faith. Faith means faith in scripture. And some spirit of service. Sadat-ananyopaya bhakchun mukha-chitti-vritti vishesh. Faith means is a special disposition of the heart which remains inclined to acts of service. So tat-shradadana muneyo jnana vairagya yuktaya. Those munis who have faith, who can reflect with a steady mind, who have jnana, knowledge, that means vivek, discrimination between the body and the atma. And vairagya, dispassion, detachment from external things. Pasyantyatmani chatmanam, they can see the truth within themselves. Pasyantyatmani chatmanam, bhaktya sruta grihitaya. Bhaktya means only by bhakti. And this bhakti has been received out sruta grihitaya, through the hearing process of Shabda Brahman. So by hearing, they have received some bhakti, and by the power of that bhakti, their jnana and vairagya has come, and they are engaged in devotional service. They realize Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And anyone else, what do they realize? Nothing. So Srila Jiva Gosvami is establishing only bhakti has power. Jnana marg has no power. Karma marg has no power. Yoga marg has no power. Only when those persons, at least they combine some bhakti with their practice. Then Bhakti Devi says, oh, let their efforts and the statements in the scripture related to karma, jnana and yoga, let them not be fruitless. And Bhakti Devi makes the karma become successful. What to speak of realizing Brahman and Paramatma? Even doing karma kanda in this world, without bhakti, it will not get a fruit. Even. Bhakti Devi is so kind that if someone practices bhakti along with their other paths, but puts bhakti in a subordinate position, it's like an offense. It's actually an offense. But Bhakti Devi is so kind that she will give some of her power to make their karma, jnana and yoga become successful and produce some fruit. Otherwise, nothing produces a fruit without bhakti. Now, let's come to the subject of what is Brahman and Paramatma. Now you know that Bhagavan has an eternal form of Sachidananda. He is really the one truth, the one complete truth. Paramatma and Brahman are not something else. They are just limited perceptions of that one truth. So Srila Vishwacharya Thakur gives an example. There's a book called Shishupal Bhatt, The Killing of Shishupal. And it was written by a poet named Mara. So Mara wrote there that once Krishna was in Dwarka. And he looked and he saw a blazing light in the sky. Ah, what is that? And as the light got closer, he saw that there was a form in the light. So he realized, oh, it's a very effulgent person. And then as the light came down to the ground, he looked and saw, oh, it's Narad Muni. So, though the reality was only one, it was just Narad. But from far away, and when the eyes had not made contact with the qualities there, only seeing the effulgence, then he was experiencing light, and then a form, but the form is not experienced in a very personal way. There's form there, but on a deeper level, who it was he could not recognize. And then he saw, oh, it's Narada Muni. So the realization of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan are compared to this. Not three things, only one thing. Another example is given that in the Nyaya and also in Purvamimamsa and other philosophies, there is a theory of perception. And perception is divided into two parts. Nirvikalpaka pratyaksh and savikalpaka pratyaksh. The meaning is this, that when an object comes before us, the sense touches the object, and then the sense touching the object causes our chitta to transform and become like a model or a facsimile of the object. And then the Atma is seeing that reproduction of the object in his own chitta. So that's how we're seeing things all the time. Just like if you point a phone in camera mode at someone, when you make the lens face that person, then the screen transforms and makes an image of the person on the screen. And you look at that. So in the same way, we are never directly experiencing the world. At every moment, what we are looking at is a model of the world in our chitta. So our chitta, that is in our subtle body we have manas, buddhi, ahankara and chitta. Mind, intelligence, ego and chitta. It is the last and the finest, most subtle covering of the soul. So, the chitta is very fine and responsive, so wherever our senses are going, then the chitta responds and makes a model of the form, of the sound, of the smell, everything. And this is how, and then our soul is seeing that. So, perception is of two types. The first perception is near vikalpaka pratyaksh. That is, the sense causes the chitta to transform and makes the object. But the buddhi, the intelligence, has not approached the object to try to identify what kind of object it is. You see? So, this happens very fast. When we see something, there's first a raw and uninterpreted experience. But within a millisecond, the buddhi then goes over that object and identifies the jati, that is the category of the object, and says, let's say a dog comes in the room, first the mind just produces it. It's some object, but what kind of object? Don't know. And then the buddhi begins to move. So the movement of the buddhi is called vikalpa. Vikalpa is a movement of buddhi. And it identifies the jati. In other words, this object has a universal in it. A jati or a samanya. Samanya means a universal. And the universal is dogness. Dogness. When we say this is a dog, what are we really saying? We're saying that this is one individual instantiation of the property of dogness. Right? So here's a dog, that means here's an example of something called dogness. Here's another dog, here's another one. But where is the dogness? Right? That is a jati. And it becomes, that universe is instantiated. So, first the experience of the object, then the buddhi identifies the jati in it, makes a connection with its properties, and so that movement of buddhi is called vikalpa, and when we experience something along with its property and identify it, that is called sa vikalpaka pratyaksha. Pratyaksh, the sensory perception of the object, sa means with, along with vikalpa, the movement of buddhi by which we identify what type of thing it is. Okay? So there's near vikalpaka, we haven't identified it, then savikalpaka. So Kumara Bhatta, in his Shloka Vartika, he says, Yastya lochanam jnanam pratamam near vikalpakam balamukadi vijnana satrisham shuddhavastu jam. If there's a baby, he's just born, his intelligence is not manifest. So things are coming in front of his eyes, he just right? If someone will take a gun, kind of thing it is. Or mukha, here, bala means a child and mukha means a deaf and dumb, mute person who, completely retarded. So just looking around and you can't understand anything which is going on. So it's said that for everyone, first, pratama nirvikalpakam, our first experience is without identifying it, the object. Bala mukadi vidyana, it's like the experience of a newborn child or a completely deaf, dumb, retarded person who has no intelligent function. Sadrisha means like. Shuddha vastu jam, and the experience is shuddha vastu jam. It is just born from the object itself. In other words, the object itself is appearing to us. We are not projecting onto it our idea of what it is. Because actually this vikalpa, this imagination is wrong. Because we project on it, this is a self-existent object and it's separate from God. But actually what is it? Everything is only the Virat Rup, form of the Paramatma. Saha Shashisha Purusha Saha Saksha Saha Sabhate. O Purush, you have thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of arms. What is that? It's all the heads and arms in the world. But when we see something, then a buddhi moves up. Here is this person. Where is God? God is nowhere. This is Gopika. This is Madhumanga. Like this. So when we're not seeing, actually Krishna is everywhere, but we're not seeing this because our own buddhi is doing vikalpa all the time. And we're imagining that there's something other than Bhagavan. So this is Maya. We're not experiencing Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So, the first thing, we see something, it's a pure experience, and then the vikalpa comes and we imagine God out of existence by our intelligence. So, now Srila Jiva Gosvami is giving an example to help us understand Brahman. He says, Nirvikalpataya Sakshat Krite. Sakshat Krite means of the direct perception. Pratamikatvat. Pratamikatvat means arising from the first perception, which is nirvikalpa. So nirvikalpataya sakshat krite pratamikatvat. That is Brahman. In other words, Bhagavan, Krishna, is all that exists. But when a person becomes free from Maya and then sees Bhagavan, his first perception that he has, before he's made a contact with the gun, with the qualities of that substance, that nirvikalpa pratyaksh of Bhagavan is Brahman, the impersonal Brahman. Understand? So this is why there's no separate Brahma Sandarbha. There's Bhagavan Sandarbha. If you understand what Bhagavan is and you understand the nature of perception, then you understand that Brahman, the experience of Brahman, is just the nirvikalpaka pratyaksh of Bhagavan. Is it clear? Yeah? If you understood what I'm saying, you can raise your hand. Yeah? Okay, so one or two people understood. I'm satisfied with that. If you didn't understand, you can ask them later. Discuss for a few weeks and you'll get it. Okay? One thing is interesting here. Jiva Goswami doesn't raise this, but we're not meant to only read the Shastra and then imprison the facts in our heart. Like in a concentration camp, where the facts will all starve. No. We're supposed to hear something and then do vichar, deliberate upon it. So one interesting point comes up, that in this world when you see something, you have nirvikalpa pratyaksh. Then the buddhi moves, but this movement of buddhi, this vikalpa is Maya. By that vikalpa, you identify what it is, but in the conventional sense. So, if you see Bhagavan, then first you have Nirvikalpa, Pratyaksh. Oh, it's Brahman. Then afterwards, does it mean you're going into Maya if your intelligence makes contact with these qualities? No, why? Because the vritti of buddhi, by which we do vikalpa, is rajasic. But the vritti of our chitta, by which one experiences the form and qualities and personality, is a vritti of what? Samvit. Samvit, you see? So bhakti is the combination of samvit, which is swapakash, self-manifesting, and hladini, which is swayam aswadhya, self-tasting. So only when the bhakti comes in the heart, then one is liberated, and then the vrittis of the buddhi become taken over by samvit and hladini. Avirbhuya manobrito brajanti tat swarupatam swayam prakasha rupapi pasamana prakasyavat. So it's as if the intelligence has identified the object. So prakasyavat means it's as if your mind has identified what it is. But actually, no. Swayam Prakash, Krishna's internal potency, is self-manifesting, and it enters like an avatar into your pran and takes over and becomes one with it. So there is the first experience of Bhagavan. It's what I'm trying to express is that it's analogous. It's not exactly the same as Nirvikalpa and Savikalpika Pratyaksh, but it's analogous to the Nirvikalpa and Savikalpika Pratyaksh. And in this analogy, the Nirvikalpika Pratyaksh of Krishna, of Bhagavan, is Brahman, the experience of Brahman. Okay? Then, how am I doing? The next fascinating point that Srila Jiva Gosvami points is, now we know what is Bhagavan and Brahman. Then what is this experience in the middle? So, the material universe is manifested, the visible material universe is called the Virat. It is the gross physical elements of Maya: earth, water, fire, air, ether, etc. But then there are the subtle elements. And they are known collectively as Hiranyagarbha. And then, before even the subtle elements are manifested, there is only Karan. That is the causal energy, which is the cause of the manifestation of the subtle elements and then the gross elements. Like the causal ocean. It is made of Karan, only pure causality. So, when a person, only Krishna exists, but first he has a Nirvikalpika Pratyaksh, and it is Brahman. But if he'll go further, and he'll see Krishna, Bhagavan, but with an upadi, with a designation of gross elements, that is the Virat, the gross elements, then he'll experience Krishna as Kirdakashai Vishnu, the Paramatma, who is in every element. Right? Paramatma is in every atom. If he'll go further and experience Krishna, but with the upadi, the designation of the subtle form of material elements, Hiranyagarbha, then he'll see not Kirdakashai Vishnu, but Garbhadaka Shai Vishnu. That is the Paramatma of the individual universes. And if you go further and see Krishna, but with the upadi only of Karan, the subtle cause of gross and subtle material elements, then you'll see Karnabdi Shai Vishnu. And if you see through bhakti with no upadi, sarva upadi nirmuktam tat pratmena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena seva bhakti uchata, then you see Bhagavan. So Paramatma has there are three experiences of Paramatma, which are called the three Vishnus: Karnabdishai Vishnu, O Mahavishnu, Gavadakshai Vishnu, and Kshirdakashai Vishnu. So Karnabdishai Vishnu, O Mahavishnu, he is lying in the causal ocean, and all the universe is manifest from the pores of his skin. So he is the Paramatma of the totality of all the universes. Then he expands and enters into each individual universe and lies on the Gavadak ocean, and then from his navel the lotus flower appears with Lord Brahman. So Gavadakasha Vishnu is the Paramatma of the individual universes. Then, when the elements manifest, Kirdakasha Vishnu enters into them and causes them to take all their shapes that we seeing around us. And so everything we seeing around us is really primarily the form of the Kirdakasha Vishnu, the Paramatma of every element and who is in the heart of every living entity. It is primarily his form and secondarily what you think it is. So, in this way, one should understand that there is one supreme truth, only Krishna. And these are different levels of perception of Krishna only. Brahman and Paramatma. So, Srila Jiva Gosvami gives an example of a Bhishma Dev. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where are our verses today? That's right. So first canto, chapter 9, verse 42. Don't panic, it's okay, it's the end. So 1:9:42. That is the chapter, the passing away of Bhishma Dev. So as you know, he has been, the battle of Kurukshetra is over, but Bhishma Dev, he has so many arrows through his body, and he's on a bed of arrows, lying there. And he's waiting, because the great yogis, they never leave while the sun is in the Dakshinayana, in the southern course. And they wait till the sun comes into the northern course, Uttarayana. So he's waiting for that. That's the external thing. What he's really waiting for is, oh, when will Krishna come and be merciful to me? So Krishna, after the battle of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira Maharaj was depressed. He thought, millions of people, they have died just because of me, so I could become the emperor. And now their wives are weeping and their children have no father. It's a disaster. And my guru, Dronacharya, has passed away. And my grandfather Bhishma is about to pass away. And he's so depressed. His brothers tried to encourage him and bring him out of the depression. It didn't work. Even Vyas could not do it. Even Narad could not do it. Krishna himself tried to instruct him, but no, everyone failed. So Krishna, he has manifested this pastime to give glory to Bhishma Deva. So he said, come, let's go and talk to Bhishma Deva. If you will hear from him, he can take away all your sorrows and illusions. So on the pretext of bringing Yudhishthira Maharaj to Bhishma Deva, actually Krishna wants to glorify his devotee, grandfather Bhishma. He's a Mahajan. And Bhishma Deva, on the pretext of waiting for the sun to go into the northern course, he was waiting, will Krishna come or not? I don't know. But because Krishna is controlled by love, he had to come there. So in the last moment, Bhishma is on the bed of arrows. He did not eat or drink anything for 3 months. And now he is about to leave this world, and he's looking at the beautiful form of Krishna. offering prayers. It's such a dramatic moment. Srimad Bhagavatam is like this. Every chapter is full of high drama and overflowing with love. And also practical teachings for us. Because I know that some of you sometimes become depressed. So then you read this chapter and Bhishmadev will take away your depression. So Bhishmadev is looking at the beautiful lotus eyes of Krishna. And then he speaks this verse. Tam imam aham ajam sharir bhajam ridi dishtitam atmakalpitanam pratidrishami va naikudarkamekam samadhi gatosmi bheda-abheda-moha. He said, oh Krishna, now I realize something. Samadhi gatosmi, I have gone into samadhi. Bheda-abheda-moha, the moha, the bewilderment of bhed, that anything is different from you. Vidut has been washed away. Try to be like Bhishmadev. In Sahaj Samadhi, natural Samadhi. Bhishmadev is not in Samadhi with his eyes closed, with his eyes open. Looking, he's in Samadhi, natural Samadhi. And all the illusion of duality has gone away, he said. So what did he say? He said, now I am seeing, Tam imam ajam, aham ajam sharira bhajam. I see, Krishna, that you are the Paramatma. You are the Super Soul, manifested everywhere and in everything. Because those are an illusion. We'll say, this is this, and now Krishna has come. No, I'm in Samadhi now, he said. I see, you are Krishna, and everything, this is also you. Ridi Riti Dishtitam Atmakalpitanam. You are present in the heart of everyone, all beings, as Paramatma. But Atmakalpitanam, they are imagining that all these things are different and that they are not you. You are exactly like the sun. Pratidrisham iva naikudarkam ekam. Arkam means the sun. Just as there's only one sun in the sky. Oh, right, okay. There you can could make it bigger. So if anyone wants to read. Kami mama ama ajam sharir bhajam ridi dishtitam atmakalpitanam. So those who are doing kalpana, speculation. They think things are different from you. But you are like the sun. Even though the sun is one, everyone has a different opinion what it's like, depending on their perspective. Someone says, oh, there is no sun, because the sun hasn't risen. Where's the sun? There's no sun. Then someone says the sun is just rising. But at exactly the same time, in one country where it's rising, someone else is saying, oh, it's midday. And in another country, at exactly the same time, someone else is saying the sun is setting. So everyone, according to their perspective, has a different idea. But the sun is one. So Bhishmadev is saying, oh, now I realize you are Paramatma, you are everywhere. Everyone is only seeing you, but everyone has a different opinion of what they're seeing. So, Bhishmadev is revealing something. He said, Aika, you are one like the sun. That means Krishna's form is one. Many devotees even misunderstand this point. Let us say that there is Krishna and he is in one place. But Krishna can manifest so many prakash, so many expansions. Right? So, from that one form, there are so many expansions coming. Understand? Wrong. Wrong. Narad Muni, when he went to Dwarka, he was going into each palace. And in each palace he saw a form of Krishna. And what he realized is, just like a yogi is in one place, but he can expand to different forms, Krishna didn't do that. Krishna has only one form. And that one form is all-pervading. Understand? So Krishna has one form and it's everywhere. But that form can manifest to you here, and manifest to someone else there, and manifest to someone else. Don't think that his form is actually here, and then from here, another form came out and went over there. And another form came out and went over there. Like in Rasalila, Krishna's dancing with all the gopis. So don't think that Krishna is with Radharani, and then a form came out and danced with this girl, and another form came from here. No, Krishna has one form. That one form is already everywhere. It doesn't have to come out of any other form. It doesn't have to go from here and go over there. The one form of Krishna is already everywhere. The one form of Paramatma is already everywhere. The Paramatma in my heart and your heart, it's not a different Paramatma. It's not that Kiradakshay Vishnu was lying on the ocean of milk and then he expanded it, and from there he went in your heart and your heart in different forms. One form is already everywhere, and that one all-pervading form, Prakash, that means becomes visible in that place, or becomes visible in that place, or becomes invisible in that place. But our foolish material mind is, how can it be? This is one form, this is another form, this one's over here, this one's over there. And we think in that because that's the nature of material things. Right? If I have a cake, I can cut it into parts, and one part can go over there, and one part can go... There's cake everywhere. Huh? Right? No, not like that. Huh? Paramatma, or Krishna himself, is already everywhere, and he can prakash. Manifest like this. So this is what Bhishma Dev is saying. Oh Krishna, now I went in Samadhi, I realized this fact. Everything is you, but you're manifesting your personal form here, and non-different from you, you're manifesting your Paramatma form, and all this in all the objects of the world around me. So now there's nothing separate from you. Samadhi means the mind is ekagra, completely fixed on one thing. So how can you be in Samadhi if you're walking and talking and looking here and there? Because you realize there's only one thing. And that is called the bheda-abheda-tattva, non-dual reality. Vadanti tat-tattva vidas-tattvam yad-jnanamadhyam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdate. Only one thing, advaya-tattva. Understand? Bhagavad Sandarbhas ki jai, Srila Jiva Gosvami Pad ki jai, Gaura Premanande Aibo. And if you are not seeing this, then you are in Maya. Okay?